Well, I am back it seems, but like a deadbeat dad, none of us can really say for how long. So let's just try and enjoy it while it lasts, okay? Anyways, Studiotrigger, that is the thing we are looking at in this video, and of course you already know that because you clicked on it. It's been over a decade now since Gainax's best boys, Hiroyuki Imaishi and Masahiko Otsuka, set sail for parts unknown and founded one of the more iconic anime studios of the past decade. Since then, there have been several hits and, of course, some misses. And so, in the interests of actually making something, I figured that I would get off of my ass and rank all 9 of the studio's TV series from worst to best. Sadly, that means no Inferno Cop, Promare, or any creamy visiony goodness, but we can still have fun regardless. But first, a quick note on the grading. I score on a scale of 0 to 5, with 5 being the highest, and take into consideration several different elements of the anime itself to get the final score. It's all very scientific, that I can assure you. Another notey note is that yes, this is my opinion, so I am obviously going to be wrong and displease almost everyone who suffers through this video with my painfully shite takes. So if you want to give voice to that displeasure that you just know that you are going to feel, the best way to do so is to wall your fist up, shake it at the screen, and curse the day that I was born. Then to add even greater insult to injury, you can really hurt my feelings by leaving a like, hitting subscribe, and of course, leaving your own list in the comment section below, as I am genuinely quite curious to learn what people other than my lonesome actually enjoyed from Studiotrigger. So without further ado, and much more to do, let's get going. And my pick for worst of Trigger is When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace from 2014. This Otsuka offering comes to us bearing a lumpy and misshapen score of 3.0. Full disclosure though, I actually quite enjoyed the series for what it is. I am a total mark for good slice of life anime and actually found the premise for the series to be quite interesting. However, the show is lacking in several departments, with arguably the most glaring one being the animation. Say one thing about Studiotrigger, say that their animation slaps. Just not here. Like a lukewarm glass of whatever. What we are gurgling with this one? Well, it's a perfectly hearty dose of fine, and fine pretty much sums up the entirety of the series as a whole. Characters are fine, humor is there, I checked, and it's fine too, but the series honestly never felt like it carried that idiosyncratic Trigger tang that one has come to expect with their productions. Overall, the whole offering felt like a half-arsed attempt to ape the magic studios like KyoAni and JC staff were serving to us during this time period, and ultimately, when supernatural battles become commonplace, ends up falling smack dab somewhere between mid and dull. Moving on, next we have Space Patrol Luluco from 2016 with a score of 3.1. If When Supernatural Battles Become Commonplace lacked that Trigger je ne sais quoi, Imaishi's Luluco had it in spades, and with a lot more packed into those fun-sized portions to boot. A star-trekking kaleidoscopic joyride across the universe. Along the way we discovered the rainbow, and that rainbow did indeed rock a sky blue jumpsuit. However, like a fart in the wind, its impact was fleeting, and ultimately it's really due to its brevity that Space Patrol Luluco suffers. While visually quite the treats, the series really struggled to make me give a fuck about the 3 key elements of storytelling, namely character, setting and plot, and for that reason I have it toiling down here on the mucky end of the list. Still, I'd have it as a must-watch for fans of Imaishi's work. On to the next pick, and with a score of 3.2, I give you Kiznaiver. Kiznaiver takes the crown for most fun anime title to say in an overly dramatic voice. Kiznaiver. But outside of that, Kiznaiver does have itself some issues. On the plus side of the milk bottle, this series looks great. My goodness, this one had some remarkable sequences dotted throughout. And at times, that shot composition, well, it gets the chef's kiss. The characters looked awesome too. They got that bungo stray dogs appeal of looking cool as shit without ever having to rely on those anime proportions, if you catch my meaning. Honestly, with the characters, it really goes beyond just their design. They were easily the best part of the series for me, and personally, I felt the moments where Kiznaiver shone the brightest was when we got those downbeat, character-focused breathers that permeates throughout a great deal of the first 2/3 of the series. I was there for those moments. What I wasn't really there for was the actual plot of the series itself. The whole thing was kind of just, I guess. Lackluster fits, for want of a better word. Honestly, by the end of the 12 episodes, it left me feeling somewhat disconnected with the series itself, and overall I ended up running pretty lukewarm on Kiznaiver as a whole. Jumping forwards all the way to 2020, we have one of the studio's more recent titles, BNA or Brand New Animal, with a score of 3.4. BNA is like that one girl who was best friends with the prettiest girl in school. She's pretty in her own right, but damn if it isn't a shame for her that she happens to be standing next to the local goddess. Unfortunately for BNA and Trigger as a whole, the series had the distinct misfortune of coming out 6 months after the Studio Orange masterpiece Beastars. Furry little comparisons were always going to be drawn between the pair, and BNA sadly was always going to come off looking like a crude cave painting next to Beastars' more intricate masterstrokes. In a lot of respects, comparisons between the two are unfortunate, as I don't think they step on each other's toes thematically or conceptually quite as much as people seem to think, but nevertheless, there seems to be no separating the pair. To BNA's credit though, it does some things really, really well. The OST, for example, it's fantastic. I love that vapey pastel color palette. There's also a lot of humorous physicality in the animation, and at points it almost rises to the level of 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓐 in that department. It also has a neat little story with an actual message, which is nice. Disappointingly, however, is that it just was never really all that great at actually delivering that message, and that's where BNA falls down. Okay, so here we go. Smack dab in the no-win zone, it's 2018's darling in the Franxx with a score of 3.7. Wedged like a stone in our shoe, all uncomfortable like, in a spot that is simultaneously far too high for stone cold detractors and far too low for its defenders. So hurrah, nobody is happy, but that's how I scored it. Like Sword Art Online before it and Rising of the Shield Hero after it, Franxx came to us with a great deal of hype, only to sour faster than an eyeball resting on a lemon slice. Back in 2018, it became quite de rigueur to de redump on Franxx, and in many respects, rightly feckin' so. But the criticism at times felt almost hysterical. I'll grant you that Franxx in the final third has enough warts on it to make a toad blush, and yikes is the world building spotty, but from a technical perspective, the series was downright incredible. Anime is a visual medium, and personally a lot of what draws me to a series are the visual elements, and whether you like it or loathe it, Franxx excels in that department. Also, the eponymous episode 6, Darling in the Franxx, by all the gods in all the treehouses, is that episode a goddamn masterclass in animation and character acting, from start to finish. For about the first 15 or so episodes, the series is extremely enjoyable, and I'd even go so far as to say that it was good. But, as we all know, the ending went down about as well as a make-out session in church, which is to say badly, and that's why I can only score it a 3.7. Up next is 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓄𝒶 from 2017 with a 4.0. Full disclosure, I really love this series. As someone who grew up a fan of Jill Murphy's The Worst Witch franchise, the near blatant cribbing was something I actually quite welcomed. As odd as I am sure that sounds to many, a Yoshinari passion project, this whimsy-soaked metaphor for the anime industry just ticks all the boxes for me. The characters, the OST, those softer pastel colours, and generally the more wholesome nature of the series tonally, it all landed. It had all the visual flair that a Sakuga fan could ask for, and I never suffered with motivation to finish the series at any point during its 25-episode span. That being said, in the interest of, critical fairness and such, if I had to be balanced, and believe me, I don't want to be, but if I really had to, I could see viewers who are less forgiving of Little Witch's flaws pointing out the meandering and somewhat directionless first half of the series. Many of the characters are sort of one note and at times caricature-ish. Also, just like Franxx, the world building perhaps was overly ambitious and kind of lost the run of itself in places. Yes, you could point out all of those things, sure. But why bother? Just tune out all those pesky thoughts and enjoy the ride like I did. Alright, top 3. Here we go. If I haven't lost you yet, I'm sure the order of my best of Trigger will sufficiently offend thine tender senses. Reminder for the more sensitive of souls out there, this is just my opinion, so daggers away, Brutus. Next, with a 4.2, is the studio's maiden TV voyage, 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓐. From 2013. Big, bold, and oh, so ambitious. 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓐 is quite the joyride and has produced one or perhaps even two of the more iconic anime characters of the 21st century. Structurally, the plot puts one in mind of Imaishi's magnum opus, Gurren Lagann, and generally the two series work well as companion pieces. They're both metal as fuck, with wildly absurdist humor, idiosyncratic animation, and a narrative thread. A narrative thread that seems hell-bent on devouring the universe. What sets the two series apart, however, is that 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓐 never quite brought the engaging and emotionally compelling characters to the table the same way that Gurren Lagann did. Kamina, Simone, Viral, and especially Rossio, were just wonderful. And as much as I enjoy Kill la Kill, its assembled cast felt like clouds of vapor in contrast to their counterparts aboard the Daiguren. On the enjoyment level, I also felt that the series is somewhat lopsided. The revenge-soaked melee of the first half was far more compelling to me than the universal bombast of what would precede it. But I wonder if I'm alone in this regard. Comments. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, taking silver is SSSS.Gridman. It gets a 4.3. I really could extol the virtues of this one for a long ass time. If I had to put a time frame on it, I guess for about 18 minutes and 46 seconds. Not to be too specific, you understand. Oh wait, you're telling me that I've already done that? You're saying I made a video on Gridman? Really? You say you can find the link to that video in the description to this video? Wow, well, isn't that convenient? I guess we all better go and check it out then. TLDW, the series, is a masterpiece. Akira Amamiya's love letter to Tokusatsu is about as rich a series as one could ever have hoped for from the studio. The incredibly beautiful and tactile hand-drawn backgrounds, the idiosyncratic use of CG, a plot that gets smarter and more mind-blowing with each watch. In my opinion, SSSS.Gridman is one of the most slept-on anime series in recent memory, and if you haven't watched it, you gotta get to it. And soon, might I add. Onwards to the best of Trigger, and what could possibly beat SSSS.Gridman? Well, it's SSSS.Dynazenon from 2021 with a score of 4.4. What can I say? Amamiya did it again, and incredibly enough, it was slightly better. Expectations are a funny thing, and personally, I ain't great at managing them. During the build-up to Dynazeon's release, I was like a 5-year-old counting down the days till Christmas, and we all know how that tale ends. Hashtag worst Christmas ever. If Franxx was a lesson in managing expectations, if only to avoid being showered in disappointment, then like Uraka Takemoto before me, I never learned a fucking thing. Lucky for me then, as in this instance, I didn't need to. Dynazenon blew me away in every department. Episode 10, Which Memories Do You Regret, is a masterpiece. Best single episode Trigger has produced to date, IMO. Kai Ikarashi, take a bow. Your animation prowess is undoubtedly one of the best in the business right now, and I doff my non-existent cap to you. At the end of the day, the Gridman x Dynazenon contest was a close run thing, but ultimately I fell onto the Dynazenon side as I felt the series provided a more profound insight into humanity than its 4S forebearer did. If I was delighted by Gridman, I was deeply moved by Dynazenon, and as the final frames of the series rolled, I knew I had just witnessed a masterpiece. SSSS.Dynazenon, the best of Trigger. Alright, there it is. That was the video, and if you made it this far, then I guess you might have enjoyed it. Either that, or you are currently experiencing paroxysms of rage so deep and so utterly profound that you have been rendered incapable of clicking off of this video. Either way, thanks for the view, and thanks for making it to the end. If you liked it, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and consider helping the channel out by sharing this video. Until next time, scarred souls, continue to shine bright, and I will see you again another time.